The secretive specialist Voyan has fostered another trial where he compensates couples with $5 million in the event that they stay inside a perfect space for 50 days. In the event that one of them leaves, the award drops to $1 million. There is no contact with the rest of the world and negative diversion, just each other's organization. Nonetheless, they can get treats by paying for them with part of the award cash. The present couple is Mike and Kate, who figure it will be income sans work. Mike thinks they've been extremely fortunate to track down this spot, and Kate considers it to be the additional opportunity they merit. Anyway, she additionally brings up that perhaps they ought to part the cash to make things more straightforward. She will likely put away the cash, which Mike believes is extraordinarily exhausting. He sees his future as celebrating and living it up without pondering cash at any point down the road. Subsequent to hearing the artificial intelligence voice help them to remember the principles, they investigate the region and notice they weren't kidding when they referred to it as perfect. Everything is white, and the main items there are a bed and a seat. There's likewise a basic restroom, which rules say they can enter each in turn, a red button they can utilize if they have any desire to leave, a touch screening where they can demand treats, and a major clock over the leave entryway that counts down the time they have left in the trial. Their feasts are intended to cover their everyday dietary necessities and are simply flavorless white shake that arrives in a white container. The room likewise accompanies programmed lights that change over the course of the day to report morning, evening, night, and when dusks, which is a sign they should take to head to sleep. The touch screen permits them to set up a morning timer, and keeping in mind that Mike intends to regard this as an excursion and rest late, Kate sets up an early caution so she can have some feeling of schedule. At the point when they head to sleep on their most memorable evening, Mike attempts to get going. With Kate, however, she's concerned that they might be watched by the teacher. Since Mike demands, they wind up doing it discreetly under the covers. When morning comes, Kate goes to the restroom to take a gander at herself in the mirror and present a couple of encouraging statements to keep her spirits up and her objectives new. After the two of them shower, they toss their garments into the washroom's clothing chute, and in return, they get extremely plain night robe, in spite of the fact that basically these have some tone. To keep themselves occupied, Kate attempts to hypothesize why Voyan is running this examination, so Mike educates her concerning the narrative he saw about this person's past trial it finished. With a common family in misfortune. No one knows why Voyan did this, they just realize he has tons of cash, and he likes utilizing it to place individuals in remarkable conditions since he's captivated by the human condition. Keeping themselves engaged turns into an issue sooner than they anticipate. Kate likes to contemplate while Mike gazes at the clock some of the time. He additionally goes on philosophical digressions about different subjects like the importance of white, which he dissects with all his craft school information or the course wherein they ought to clean their teeth. Kate generally reminds him not to gaze at the clock and to keep his psyche on the award, yet it's hard to think emphatically when Mike couldn't actually rest soundly. Kate keeps up her daily schedule of attestation, words, and making the bed. She likewise attempts to keep Mike's soul up. At the point when Kate contemplates, Mike has a go at working out, basically by running. Together, they play hand-applauding games, Marco Polo, or even dance. Whenever they remove their grimy night robe, they're given another pair that looks precisely something similar. Half a month have passed when something else at last occurs. Mike tracks down a bug that has sneaked inside the room. After child conversing with it, Mike attempts to take care of it a portion of the dinner shake. Yet when he pours a few drops on the floor, the simulated intelligence voice advises them that food can be utilized for utilization by the challengers. Stressed over the bug not making do in here, Mike demands some approach to letting the little man out, promising he would rather not leave. Kate clears up for him that the speaker through which the simulated intelligence voice comes out doesn't appear to be two-way. She's as of now taken a stab at, making Mike chooses he will press the button to open the entryway. This starts a contention in light of the fact that Kate is certain pressing the button will cause them to lose regardless of whether Mike doesn't really leave and just puts his hand out for an idiotic bug. In the wake of putting the bug down, Mike tells Kate the bug is a living being and that she has no empathy, so Kate blames him of being dating in light of the fact that she isn't vegetarian like him. As the contention gets stronger, Kate at long last admits she thinks Mike is just veggie lover since he needs to irritate his well-off father who have Mike all that he really wanted. In this way he never endured, and presently he needs to have dilettantish road craftsmanship cred. Then, at that point, Kate attempts to leave this discussion, yet she winds up venturing on the bug, and Mike experiences difficulty accepting her when she says it was a mishap and apologizes. Mike spends the remainder of his day pouting in a corner until he at last concludes he's had enough. It's simply not beneficial to sit idle. Since every one of them can take 2 treats, Mike will request one regardless of whether it takes out $100,000 off their award. Kate doesn't support, however Mike needn't bother with her consent, and his treat turns out to be a solitary green pastel. It's not a lot, however to some extent now Mike can do his craft on the walls. In the wake of watching him draw for some time, Kate asks him to draw her, and Mike acknowledges. Be that as it may, he declines to do practical pictures since they're exhausting. He likes to adhere to his style, causing Kate not to need to show for him any longer. Mike draws until there's no more colored pencil left, irritating Kate when he leaves green stains all around the restroom and the towel on the floor. Afterward, Kate apologizes for having acted like a cunt and makes sense of this more enthusiastically than she naturally suspected. However, essentially they just have 20 days left. Days keep on passing in fatigue until one morning, Kate awakens to track down a firearm in the washroom. They're too frightened to even consider checking, assuming it's stacked and its presence is tormenting, so they choose to stow away it under the bed in light of the fact that the simulated intelligence restricts them to put protests that aren't garments inside the clothing chute. In a little while, the couple is at long last compensated with interface time, which will play for the messages sent by their friends and family. Mike receives a message from his sister, who lets him know how she and their folks are doing, yet she likewise thinks Mike isn't dating Kate any longer. Seeing his sister makes Mike exceptionally blissful. However, Kate doesn't need her very own association in frenzies when the screen puts a video of her father, who is at long last off the roads and residing in a destitute safe house. Since the video won't stop regardless of the amount she asks, Kate hurries to take cover behind the washroom entry and cry, and Mike approaches solace her. Subsequent to resting by sticking frantically to her bow, Kate doesn't get up when the caution reports the morning and stays in bed all day since she's fallen into a discouraged state. At the point when Mike communicates his concerns, Kate lets him know she hadn't seen her father in years and consistently deceived Mike about who he was on the grounds that she was embarrassed about her father and the manner in which he drank away the house, her school charges, and her possibilities growing up like an ordinary individual. With barely 14 days to go, Kate actually remains in bed while Mike attempts to find better approaches to engage himself, such as changing his drawings by smearing the colored pencil with his fingers, or perusing the pajama name in however many feelings as could be allowed like those acting activities. He attempts to cause Kate to eat by poking some fun at the food, however it's silly, so he winds up joining her in bed in trust he can comfort her. It actually doesn't work, and Mike now and again chooses to rest on the floor just to feel something else. One morning, he attempts to persuade Kate to take a treat, however she won't lose that cash. Developing progressively disappointed, Mike specifies he doesn't know he can do this any longer and that at last moves Kate to get up. Previously, she cleans up, however, she advises Mike to require his subsequent treat, regardless of whether costs $250,000. Mike does so and is stunned to see the entryway open to permit a bare lady called Simone enter the room. She is clueless about the venture. She's simply an entertainer getting compensated for a gig that required marking loads of NDAs and keeping in mind that she was reserved for a month. Her representative said she's most likely remaining for 24 hours. Kate could do without her presence definitely and makes Mike give her his shirt so Simone can conceal a little. Simone sees Mike's craft and adulates it in any event, perceiving the impacts, which irritates Kate more. At the point when sun sets, Mike offers to rest on the floor while the young ladies take the bed and Simone offers to remain conscious while they rest. Kate is irritated by their indeterate habits and concludes they can all share the bed as long as she rests in the center. That evening, it's Kate the one to experience difficulty dozing. In the first part of the day, Kate doesn't find Simone on the bed and believes she's gone, however, she's in the washroom. Not having the option to take it any longer, Kate chooses to take a treat and gets a little box with 3 tomfoolery confections. Kate quickly takes one and offers one to Simone, yet Mike just acknowledges 1-2 after loads of dithering. Then 3 start moving and thrashing around the room. They likewise share a couple of gathering kisses. Notwithstanding, inevitably, Mike starts going through a terrible outing, seeing blood all over the place and dreaming he's submerged while seeing his more youthful sibling fall with him. The ladies take Mike back to the real world, yet he's actually terrifying and asking to leave while referencing something about Sean and suffocating. Kate needs to drag him back to bed and solace him until he's snoozing. A short time later, Simone asks what Mike had been referring to and Kate tells her Mike's younger sibling Sean suffocated in the family's pool while Mike was assumed to watch, which causes him to feel regretful still right up to the present day. Mike had been high when it worked out, which adds to the injury and makes sense of why he had been reluctant to acknowledge the sweets here. Simeon likewise asks how they met, and Kate recollects affectionately how on a blustery day, she had no umbrella and Mike came to her, proposing to get every one of the raindrops so she wouldn't get wet. At the point when Mike at long last awakens, Simone shares that she lost her mom when she was a youngster, and both of them bond over sorrow and lost friends and family. Simone grasps Mike's hand to comfort him, and when Kate sees them, she goes ballistic, thinking Simone needs to take her bow. Simone calls her disposition out, bringing up that Kate suddenly erupts in light of the fact that she's really an uncertain individual, which begins a contention. Mike hollers at them to stop prior to leaving. Accordingly, Kate attempts to apologize, letting it be known was most likely nothing that she saw, yet Simone stokes the fire by saying perhaps it wasn't. The next morning, Mike isn't feeling good. However, Kate is focused on different things. Simone is at last gone, but on the other hand, there's a message from her on the wall on green pastel expressing gratitude toward Mike for a wild evening. Kate goes ballistic, not paying attention to Mike when he makes sense of he sat idle, and this resembles the firearm, something the room is doing to screw with them. In her resentment, Kate pushes Mike to the floor, making him hurt his head and drain. Mike backs away from her, advising her that he's never undermined her in any event. When she moved to New York, he likewise quit seeing his supposed rich companions not to make her anxious and didn't complete school to remain at home with her when she was discouraged, yet all he receives consequently is envy. Crying, Kate keeps on saying sorry, yet their discussion is intruded on when Mike starts feeling woozy from the injury. He really thinks he really wants a specialist. However, Kate presents to him a portion of the feast shake so he can put some sugar in his framework and covers his injury with a towel, reminding Mike that the agreement said they don't have stipend for clinical mediation. Mike can't completely accept what he's hearing, and he begins contemplating whether Kate truly minds. Numerous months after the fact, a now single Mike is going for a run when he sees Kate emerging from a structure. They haven't seen each other since the room and choose to take a stroll to talk and make up for lost time. However, when Mike inquires as to whether she left the room or won, she evades the inquiry. At any rate, however, she offers a conciliatory sentiment for what occurred. As they leave, the structure is uncovered to be the destitute cover, which has a plaque saying an unknown gift permitted them to construct the new kitchen. In the meantime, in the faultless room, another couple shows up to take the test.